Today I'm checking out the DJI Neo here that only just came out, and I thought what I would do is I would test out how much battery life this unit has. So I'm going to put it straight into the follow mode without the controller, and I'm just going to get it to follow me around. We'll just see how it goes. I'm going to time it on my phone to get an accurate reading of how much battery life you get purely when it's in the follow mode, no controller connected, and it's just following you around. Perfect day. It's actually a little overcast, but there's no wind, so there isn't a huge resistance when it comes to the flight performance. Relatively sheltered where I am, so we'll see how it goes and see how it performs. I've just changed it into the follow mode on here, and then all I have to do is just set up the timer on my phone, press and hold the action button. So it's in a close follow mode, and here we go. Start. So I've started the recording right now. We'll see how it goes. I just need to grab this and we can just start the following process here. So very keen to see how it goes. It's in that close following mode. We're at 15 seconds right now. I'm actually just going to turn around just to see if it continues tracking me from behind. Or, oh yeah, it seems to just continue tracking me from behind. So a few things to mention here. I actually wanted to talk through some of the specs here and discuss what the DJI Neo can do, what's so impressive about it, and yeah, just go from there so you guys have a sense of what you're getting when you get yourself the DJI Neo. So, first things first, let's just see how it goes here. I might get it to follow me from the front actually. No. Oddly enough, this battery test is kind of split into two parts almost. So what initially happened was I launched the drone, put it in the follow mode. It was in the close follow mode, 4K 30 frames per second. It started perfectly fine, what I thought anyway. It was hovering and it seemed to be following me initially, and then it just stopped following me. So I heard in the distance that it was a little bit further back, turned around, noticed that it was just kind of hovering there looking at me. And then as I moved closer, I noticed that it was still kind of looking for me, but it wasn't moving with me. So it stopped the follow mode. So I had to hand launch it and then start the test again. So we're going to have to start off with about a minute of flight time before I get into the second test. And now it's straight into the follow mode immediately. So I'm just going to start the timer and see how it goes with the follow mode. So theoretically, we shouldn't have any issues in this kind of scenario. There is some water, there's some sand, there's a few different terrains that might put it off. But theoretically, we shouldn't have any issues with it in the following mode. As you can see so far, it's doing a good job. I might actually walk towards it and see what it does. See if it just changes its following direction. Okay, so it seems to be just following me from behind. I just kind of wanted to talk through some of the specs, some of the things that you can expect from the DJI Neo. So firstly, it is a 1/2 inch sensor. Can capture 4K up to 30 frames per second. So very, very reliable. Oh, it's getting very close to me. Very reliable video performance with that 1/2 inch sensor, 4K up to 30 frames per second. It's following nice and close right now, which is very, very good to see. It's just right behind me there doing its thing. It does have a field of view of 117 degrees, so pretty good field of view overall. It's got an aperture of f2.8 as well. So for a 1/2 inch sensor, it's got some good stuff going on. 4K is the default setting that it's in, and the follow mode is the default mode that it's in without the controller, without any of the other, special things that you might want to put it into, because it's got a bunch of different modes, a bunch of different control options available to you. But I just purely wanted to chuck it in the follow mode, walk around in this kind of scenario, and just see what type of battery life we're going to get out of it. Now, the sound I'm getting from it is an odd one, actually. Sounds different to any other drone I've heard. Definitely got a bit more of a whining kind of noise. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it's different to anything I've heard. So I definitely think, especially because it's designed for something like this where you're flying it low to the ground and you're flying it in a situation where you want to capture some moments, it might turn some heads, which you kind of don't really want that. You want it to be a bit more subtle, but that's just the way it is. Another thing to keep in mind actually is I have created a few different groups for the DJI Neo. So I've got the DJI Neo owners worldwide, and the DJI Neo Owners Australia. So definitely check those out if you're looking into the Neo, or if you've got yourself the Neo. Make sure to join those. I will have those links down below to check those out. I really want to create a community of people that can actually utilize this drone and capture those exciting moments that they're capturing, especially those family moments, those holiday moments, all those fun moments that you might not be able to capture with another drone, right? Like as I've shown you, I've got no controller in my hand and the drone's just following me. It hasn't skipped a beat just yet. It's just keeping up with me nice and close. Video quality is going to be 4K 30 frames per second. And considering it's a relatively overcast day today, doesn't seem to be having any issues with continuing to track me, which is very, very promising overall. So just another thing to keep in mind, I do have an exclusive code for my Australian viewers. You can use the code DansTube over on DJI Australia's website, which is d1store.com.au. The code DansTube will work on most drones, cameras, and accessories. So make sure to go over there and check that out. And I will have some other links below as well for some other sites, Amazon, the DJI global website, as well as some other stuff below. So make sure to check all of that out if you're looking for some sort of drone, camera, or accessory. In terms of time, we're up to about 4 minutes so far. I have no idea what the battery life's looking like on it, because again, I don't have the app connected, I don't have a controller connected. It's just purely in its full following mode from the drone itself, which is one of the huge benefits of something like this, especially if you are a beginner, right? If you've never flown a drone before, but you want to take something with you on a local holiday, capture some moments with your friends and family, something like this is great because you don't necessarily need a controller. You can literally just utilize the app as a separate interface. So you can use the DJI Fly app to control the drone, to change the settings and modes and whatnot. But you've also got the button on top of the drone that gives you control to change a bunch of other settings without having to worry about having a controller or the app. You can then on top of that use the RC N3 controller, which is a new release controller. You can utilize the DJI Goggles 3, as well as the RC Motion 3. And then on top of that, you can also utilize the DJI FPV Remote Controller 3 to then get that full manual mode. So you've got so many different options. There's also voice controls that aren't available right now at the time of me filming this. But it is a feature-packed offering here, which is very unique. They're definitely targeting all sorts of people with this drone. It's for just the everyday user, the beginner, someone who's maybe never used a drone before, but then it can work for people who want to get something a little bit more fun. Maybe you've got another drone, but you want something a bit more casual, something a bit more fun that you can just take with you for all sorts of scenarios. So I can see it's doing well. It's keeping up with me. It's doing its thing. It's just following me. I spoke through all those different options that you have available, but on top of that, right now we're just using the follow mode, but there are also a bunch of quick shot modes available. So we do get a bunch of options, right? We get follow, we get droney, we get circle, we get rocket, we get spotlight, and we get custom. And the custom offering actually has 3 different options. So it has direction, track, helix, and boomerang. So the other thing to keep in mind here is that this little drone is designed perfectly to handle any sort of bumps, right? So if it was to accidentally knock into a pole, like there's a pole coming up over here, it's not going to have any issues because it does actually have the built-in propeller guards, as it's just carrying on behind me back there. But it does have the propeller guards built in, so that means that it can handle little knocks. You don't want to put it in any sort of situation where you have to test that, but it does come with some propeller guards built into it. It does look like you can detach them as well, which is very nice. And it does have the, it has a built-in speaker, basically, that actually communicates to you what mode you're in. So it let me know, just as I launched it, it's in follow mode and it's close. So I can adjust those settings through the actual app itself, but it lets me know as I go between the different modes, it lets me know what mode I'm in and what setting I've got it in. So by default, it was, I believe, in the medium following distance. So I changed it to close purely because I wanted to keep it nice and close. And it, by default, was in 4K 30 frames per second, but you can change it to 1080p as well. So I'm just going to flip the camera around just so you can see it following me behind. So here's the little Neo here, and you can see as I turn, it turns with me. It's been keeping very close, so in terms of the distance that it's following me from, I'm just going to walk a little bit just to show you what it's doing here. Hopefully not trip over or stand on anything. But you can see this is the kind of distance that it's keeping when it's in that close mode. So it's probably about, I don't know, what would you say? Maybe a meter, if that. So it is keeping very close. And you can see the sun's actually just come out, so we've just got a change of lighting conditions. We've got some water, we've got some sand, all sorts of terrains, and it's not having issues keeping up with me and keeping me as the main focus of this tracking experiment here, which is very nice to see. Sometimes you can have issues as terrains change, as lighting conditions change, but again, this is perfectly fine. And when we are ready to land it, all I gotta do is put my palm out like this underneath the drone, and it will literally just land on my palm. So just in terms of a time check here, we're now up to 9 minutes and 15 seconds. It is actually a perfect day. It isn't the best day in terms of like lighting conditions. There's a lot of clouds around, it's overcast. So it keeps changing, it's sunny, then it's overcast, then it's raining. So it's not the best day in terms of that, but it's kind of good for the test, right? It's good to see as lighting conditions change, as cloud coverage changes, all that kind of stuff. And in terms of wind, perfectly fine. It's not hugely windy today, which is very nice. And the drone itself can handle level 4 winds. So a lot of DJI drones nowadays, on average, are handling level 5 winds. So level 4, from my understanding, is about 28 kilometer winds. Now, oh, the sun's really hot now. It's beautiful. It's been raining the last couple of days. But right now, there's literally no wind. I can't even feel any wind. And I'm in a little like cove protected area. So no issues with wind, but apparently it can handle level 4 winds, which is 28 kilometer winds. So you can put it in situations where there is a bit of wind and it's going to be perfectly fine. If you have the controller, I would imagine you're going to be a lot more confident. In this mode where I don't have the controller, my fail-safe would be to connect it up to the app as quickly as possible, or to, you know, run up to it and put my palm out to catch it straight away. But in this kind of condition and in some light winds, you'd be completely fine. You wouldn't have to worry about anything like that. I have been very impressed with it so far. I wasn't expecting it to really stumble in this kind of situation. I didn't know what the weather was going to be like, but so far it seems perfectly fine. I'm going to test it up here actually. We're going to climb up the rocks and let's just see if it does increase in altitude as I start to increase in altitude. This will be a good test actually. Theoretically, you would think, yeah, shouldn't be an issue. It seems to be doing it. Let's see. Let's see. Yes. Oh, that's cool as. Okay, so it increased in altitude as I climbed up the rock, or climbed up the rocks there, and it's continuing to follow me nice and close. So you can see bang on when it comes to the following mode. It's just doing its thing, keeping it nice and close. Now, in terms of some of the other modes, some of the other features available through the DJI Neo, there's a bunch of stuff that I'm going to be showcasing on the channel. I'm going to showcase the full FPV experience. I'll showcase the motion controller. I'm going to do all sorts of different tests and comparisons and reviews and all sorts of things. But like I said, today's video is purely focused in on that time. How much flight time are we getting out of this drone if we're just following us continuously? Now we've just hit the 12-minute mark and it's actually, oh, here it goes. It's landing right now. So it's just landed and it's given us the low battery warning. There it goes. So it landed. Luckily I noticed that. Luckily it did it now actually, right on the concrete. So we got 12 minutes and 11 seconds from that. It does have a little bit more juice in it. It's still got the 1 bar, but this is where it forced itself to land. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly test one more time. Follow. So this is the follow mode. So once you've selected it, you just hold it out, press and hold the button, and it says, okay. So it's not letting it take off. So it's at that point now where it's not allowing it to take off anymore. That's pretty good. Like I said, not too windy. If it was a windier day, we might see some different results. It still does have the 1 bar displaying on the actual unit itself, but it forced itself to land, and I tried then just to force it again to take off, but no, did not happen for me. So in total, with the first test and then the second test, we got about 13 minutes and 12 seconds of flight time. Like I said, first 1 minute test, for whatever reason, it wasn't following me properly, but it was flying for 1 minute, and then continuously it was flying for 12 minutes and 12 seconds. It was following me the entire 12 minutes and 12 seconds, keeping nice and close. The 4K 30 looks great. I even changed altitude. I climbed up the rocks. I changed terrain. The lighting conditions changed. So I think it was a really comprehensive test, and it turned out to be 13 minutes and 12 seconds full battery life from the point that it was at 100% to the point that the drone forced itself to land. And then after that point, it wouldn't take off anymore. It wouldn't even let me hover or anything. It was completely depleted. So 13 minutes, just over 13 minutes, is quite impressive for a tiny drone, especially if you're just wanting to capture lots of little moments with your family and friends. I mean, it did a decent job, and like I said, perfect for little bite-sized moments. I wouldn't think of it as a 12-minute straight performance, right? And so you got to keep that in mind if you are using a controller, one of the controller options you have, because you're not going to obviously have too much flight performance from it. So just keep that one in mind. If you are interested in joining the Facebook groups that I have set up now, they will be linked below, as well as those links to get yourself the Neo and other drones and accessories. Check those links out below. Keep tuned to the channel. Make sure to subscribe and smash. I don't like doing that. That's such a YouTuber thing to do, but make sure you turn on the notification bell just so then you are notified when I release some more DJI Neo content. I've got some giveaways coming up and all sorts of fun stuff. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll chat to you in the next one. Peace.